So today, we're diving into what might just be the most unbelievable story in all of sports. Leicester City's absolutely astonishing 2016 Premier League championship. Let's just start with a number that says everything you need to know. 5,002-1. Those are the actual betting odds for Leicester City to win the league at the start of that season. I mean, just let that number sink in. It's so huge, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around without some context.
And here's what that actually means in the real world. A simple $10 bet would have paid out $50,000. Yeah, this wasn't just a long shot. This was considered a complete statistical fantasy.
So you see, this is way more than just a story about winning a trophy. It's about a team that completely shattered expectations, cost the betting industry millions, and gave every underdog on the planet a little bit of hope.
Okay, so let's really get into it. Just how insane were these odds, really?
So what that actually means in betting terms is a tiny implied probability of just 0.02%. Basically, bookies slap those kinds of odds on things they think are pure fiction, stuff that is just never, ever going to happen.
And to put that into perspective for you, people calculated you were more likely to find a pearl in an oyster or even live to be 100. The odds of being struck by lightning were way, way better. So we're not just talking improbable here, we're talking laugh-out-loud ridiculous.
Which, of course, leads to the big question. What on earth made everyone so sure this team had absolutely no chance? Well, it was a perfect storm of zero expectations. The season right before this, they had just scraped by, barely avoiding getting kicked out of the league. Their team was full of guys nobody had really heard of. They'd hired a new manager, Claudio Ranieri, who had a reputation for messing with his team lineup too much, and honestly, a lot of people thought his best days were behind him. You throw in a tiny budget, and yeah, you've got yourself the perfect recipe for a 5,000-to-1 outsider.
And to really get what a huge deal this was, you've got to understand the playground they were playing in.
So think about this. From when the Premier League started back in '92 all the way up to 2015, only 5 clubs had ever won the title. You had this super elite group, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, who just completely dominated. It was an exclusive club, right? A very thick glass ceiling was in place for pretty much everyone else.
And the secret to that dominance? Well, it wasn't much of a secret. It was money. Lots and lots of money. The big clubs were operating on a totally different financial planet. Their budgets were massive compared to clubs like Leicester. In fact, Leicester's entire payroll was less than what some of those giant clubs paid for just one superstar player. This wasn't just David versus Goliath. It was like David showing up to fight an entire army of Goliaths all at once.
So, how in the world did this happen? How did they pull off the impossible? Let's break down the anatomy of this miracle.
First up, you got to look at the players. This was a squad of guys that everyone else had overlooked, a collection of hidden gems. You had Jamie Vardy, who just a few years earlier was playing non-professional football. Riyad Mahrez, this brilliant winger they found in the French second division for a steal. And of course, N'Golo Kanté, a midfielder nobody knew, who played like he had 3 lungs. They were hungry, and they played as a team.
And the guy conducting this whole orchestra, that was Claudio Ranieri. Instead of being the tinker man, he kept everything simple and consistent. He had this calm, grandfatherly vibe that just deflected all the pressure. And you've probably heard the story. He famously promised his players pizza if they could keep a clean sheet. It sounds silly, but it created this amazing, unbreakable team spirit. And their game plan? Oh, it was brilliant. Deceptively simple, but absolutely lethal. They didn't care about having the ball. They'd let the other team pass it around, defend like their lives depended on it, have the incredible N'Golo Kanté win the ball back, and then, boom, they'd launch these lightning-fast counterattacks to Vardy and Mahrez. It was so effective.
But there was one more piece to the puzzle. You could call it a perfect storm. Because in that one specific season, almost all the traditional giants, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Man City, they all had terrible years, all at the same time. It created this power vacuum at the top of the league, and Leicester, with their incredible consistency, were right there to fill it.
So, when the dust settled, what was the real legacy of this fairy tale story? Well, the first people who felt the shockwave were the bookmakers. They had to pay out something like £25 million. It was the biggest single loss on a sports event in UK history. It was a huge, expensive lesson for them that, yeah, sometimes the impossible actually happens.
And the years after the win, well, they kind of proved just how hard it is to stay at the top.
They had some incredible moments, like getting to the Champions League quarterfinals and winning the FA Cup, but they also had the massive low of getting relegated before clawing their way back up. It really just goes to show you that the miracle of 2016 was truly a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
But you know, the real legacy, the thing that really matters, goes way beyond wins and losses. Leicester's win became a global phenomenon. It was a victory for the soul of sports, a story that shouted to the world that teamwork and belief, yeah, they could still beat a mountain of cash.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question. In today's world of sports, with more and more money, talk of super leagues, and these huge financial gaps, was this the last great miracle? Will we ever see a 5,000 to 1 story like this again?